Hello, hi there, Matthew. Welcome along, and welcome to everybody tuning in on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. I can see we've got 10 people here already and a few more filtering in. So, welcome. Let us know who
Hi.
you are and where you are tuning in from in the chat. I expect there might be a few people from Armenia tuning in. What do you think,
Yep.
Matthew?
Yeah, I guess there are many Armenians today. You
Well,
quite
let's
have a good
just
popularity, by the way, in Armenia.
I
You're
know. I
popular
should.
among
I should.
content
You're always
writers.
telling me I should come and say hi to
You should
everyone.
visit.
So
Yep.
I'm gonna make it a priority, a place to visit for sure. I've got a few trips lined up this year actually myself, but after a very quiet period of travel. But tell me about your travel. Where are you at the moment, and where do you usually reside?
Okay. So usually I'm in Armenia, and I'm in the mountains of Armenia, in the city of Ijevan. And right now I'm in the Emirates, in Sharjah, one of the Emirates. And I'm staying here like for a couple of weeks also for business, content writing business. And who am I? I'm Mathew Zein, a journalistic content writer. I've been doing content writing for the last 10 years as my only source of income, my only job. And yeah, that's it.
That's great. Yeah, Matthew, writes a lot about Armenia. You've got a magazine, Life in
Yep,
Armenia, right, which is great. So, if you're interested in travel, in living somewhere which is a hotbed of international remote work and nomadism, then definitely check it out. I myself live in Las Palmas in the Canary Islands, which is another epicenter of especially Europeans, I would say, traveling here because it's one of the places in Europe which is nice and warm in the winter. So we get a lot of Northern Europeans coming here in the winter to work remotely and enjoy life on the beach.
I
Great.
started life
Yeah.
in Armenia around a year ago. That was
Mm-hmm.
January 2023. And the interest in digital nomadism, the interest in relocating to Armenia was more than I expected. It was something I'm doing out of passion. And today we have more than 11,000 readers, monthly readers for the magazine. That was
That's
something I
brilliant.
never thought it would happen so quick.
I would like to see these opportunities open up for more people around the world because we talk about, digital nomadism, and it's perhaps, the majority of people doing that are maybe Americans in Mexico, Colombia, or Europeans traveling to other parts of Europe or to, developing countries maybe. So it would be great if more people get the chance to do that because in 2024, everyone should have the opportunity to work online and to share their skills.
Exactly.
And that should mean, why can't you live somewhere else and do that?
Expectation, by the way, that by 2035, which is like almost 11 years later, we will have a billion remote workers. And
Yeah.
that's something, I mean, they can all travel the world and live in, let's say, affordable places or just travel to different places and work temporarily.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that is all of these opportunities for arbitrage, like essentially people from stronger economies or people with stronger currencies going to places which have a lower cost of living. That may all normalize in the future because the cheaper places to live will attract lots of great people, and then they will become more
Exactly.
expensive to live, and so on and so forth. Maybe people will be paying less rent in New York because everyone's moved abroad to
Who
to
knows?
places like Armenia. Great. Well, just to let everyone know what we're going to talk about today, the session is called Building Your Freelance Writing Empire in 2024. And I think this may be one of the most useful webinars or live streams that I've ever done because you're going to get a ton of practical tips from Matthew on how to operate well as a freelance writer, how to get clients, how to, what we should be doing on a daily basis to make things work. My background is in helping people with the language element and the quality and ideas of what they write. And, Matthew is here to talk about how to make it all work once you've done that. So let's get into it. Just before we get right into it, and hi to everyone out there. I should say hi, Jeffrin, sorry, in Armenia, and Afsanet, welcome, living in Germany. Yeah, just before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit more about your writing. What do you write exactly, and what kind of
Okay.
projects are you working on?
Okay. So before I start, I just want to make one thing clear, which I just mentioned. Content writing is my only source of income. And it is a job that you can rely on if you give it enough time and if you practice it as a job, not as a sidekick or somehow like just to make a couple of side bucks. No, when it's your own job, it pays really well. And I have a good lifestyle only through content writing. I have a family, I travel, and it's all through content writing. So, what I'm going to talk about today is, again, as you mentioned, how to build your business as a content writer if you already have the skills to write. And what do I write about? First of all, I write about different topics that my clients would request. Let's say 90% of any topic. However, I specialize in a few topics that, or let's say a few fields that I write about, and this is where I charge more because this is where I can like deliver something totally unique than others. I do have the magazine Life in Armenia for digital nomad families, but it's not a commercialized magazine yet. I've been working on it for a year. It just helps me find more clients, but I don't generate any income from the magazine itself.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Let's move straight into, and I should say as well, if anyone's got a question for Matthew or for me, just type it in the chat and we will get to them at the end. We're going to be here today for sort of 30, 40 minutes chatting together, and we'll answer questions after that.
Okay.
And
Should I start?
most importantly, we won't try and sell you anything, I think.
Yep, definitely. Yes, exactly.
We're just chatting here. All right. Yeah, go for it, Matthew. Tell us, how do you
Okay.
build trust with potential clients? How do you reach out to people? Let's start with that.
Okay.
How do you get
Okay.
work?
So, first of all, regarding reaching out to people or even collaborating with potential clients, there's one thing I want to highlight, which is embrace being a non native speaker. You can tell that I'm not a native speaker. Still, I know, and I'm sure that I make the same income native content writers make. And I have noticed that while I'm working with other writers, for example, sometimes there are some teams that we work together on a project for a company. There are Native Americans, for example, and non native writers. Once the native writers join, the non native writers shy away from, let's say, contributing or discussing, or they think that it's a disadvantage not to be a native speaker. However, I embrace it as an advantage. Being non-American, non-British means I think like of two cultures, not just one. It means I speak more than one language. It means I know more things. Of course, with all due respect to everyone, I'm not trying to downgrade anyone, but I say being a non-native speaker is an advantage that you should embrace and you should brag about. And whenever I'm in a meeting, I say it like the first thing, I'm not a Native American. For example, you're writing about the Caucasus area. I live in the Caucasus area, so I know that culture better than you do. Let me help you. At one point, there was an American magazine, and it's for like a travel blog. They were announcing a writing gig. They wanted a Native American to write something about digital nomadism or remote work in the Caucasus area. And I applied, although I'm not native. And I said, I'm not native, but I've been living there for years. And I'm a writer, and I can prove that I write in a very good way. Will that be considerable? And they considered it, and I got hired. And that was a really well paying job. And I got paid the same amount of money they would have paid the American. So I didn't shy away just because I'm not a native speaker. I embrace that. And I ask everyone to do the same. If you're not a native American, that doesn't mean anything. If you write well, if you know what you're writing about really well, then you are bringing an added value to the company. And that's why they are hiring you, or that's why they are considering your application.
I mean, yeah, 100% agree. It's not a competition. Don't treat it as a competition, because if you do, you'll be on the losing end of it, and you'll be feeding into these, lazy editors and companies with bad practice who are just saying, "Oh, it's easier for us to say, let's hire an American or a native speaker," and that's just not going to necessarily provide better quality. And like Matthew says, focus on what you can offer that is unique to you. And, where you live and your knowledge of culture and language is definitely a big part of that. So, great message. We've got a question here, which I think we could just jump into. I'll just share it on screen. I think as we're not
Okay.
connected, I can't see who this
Hmm.
is. Feel free to tell us your name. But how do you
Okay.
use LinkedIn to reach out to clients? So we're streaming on LinkedIn now as well.
Okay.
Let's start
Okay.
there.
So let me answer this by talking about two different points that will answer this question in specific. First of all, I don't try to reach out to clients myself. I open the door for the clients to reach out to me by offering something they are interested in through LinkedIn. So whenever, for example, I know that I can, let's say, write something really good about a topic or two, I keep sharing about those topics on my LinkedIn and social media platforms. And in one way or another, clients sometimes find those things and they reach out to you because they have found something really good that you've written. And in this regard, let me talk about this in more detail. So, the first tip of two I'm going to talk about is to specialize in something. I know that as a content writer, I write about all the topics that people ask me to write about. I can research and I can write about them. However, I charge triple the amount I charge when I'm writing about the topics I specialize in. And for those topics is where I make like the real good money from this job. And when I say specialize, I know you have heard this like a million times, like you have to specialize, but I've noticed many content writers go for the highest demand topics. For example, if everyone is talking about crypto, they want to talk about crypto or to write about crypto. But what about the 100,000 other industries available on the planet? I have met, by the way, like a content writer that was doing really good, writing about wedding veils. That's it. She specialized in wedding veils. She has studied every pattern, fabric, history around the world. She has become an expert. She follows thought leaders. She attends everything. She knows about this industry. And she started reaching out to many manufacturers around the world. And she got like really good jobs from that. And eventually she was hired for an international fashion house writing about wedding fields. Can you imagine that in a world where everyone is writing about crypto and blockchain and let's say casino articles or something, wedding fields? Yeah, it's an industry. And there are many other industries you can think of. Wristwatches, for example. Any one of us can write about wristwatches, but when you specialize in wristwatches, you know about the movements, you know the names of every single piece in the mechanism, then you can write something that's different. Then you can beat AI, then you can compete with others. I have never competed because of the prices. I've never tried to offer something affordable or cheaper than others. I offer something unique by, let's say, researching more and specializing. In my case, by the way, the two fields I specialize in are writing about mobile applications from the fintech industry in the Arab Gulf area, mostly non blockchain mobile applications, and they are about savings. So, can you imagine what kind of small niche that is? There are many service providers in this specific niche, in that specific geographic location. So I started researching more in this specific field, attending conferences, following people, interviewing people. That's how I got to become an expert in this field. The second field I write about is digital nomadism and remote work in the Caucasus, which is also not a very popular topic. But there are so many platforms and businesses interested in this specific area. And that's what I advise everyone specialize.
That's a great point. Would you say that? And it's funny you mentioned watches because I have a client who's just started writing for a watch magazine, and it's a perfect example of something like he's really passionate about it, and he's writing like these very opinionated essays, and it's an absolute smash hit. Like this company has said, "Oh, this is exactly what we want." If he's just sending those magazines on to magazines on general topics, it's a harder sell. But yeah, I mean, my point is, would you say that these niche topics should be something that you're passionate about as a
Yes,
writer?
exactly. And you have to spend enough time, if you are a new content writer, spend enough time looking for something that you're passionate about. It could be something you have majored in, for example, like in college. I have met medical writers that earn more writing about medicine than practicing medicine itself. So it could be something you have studied or something you're really passionate about. Still, you write about anything, but when you specialize, you can ask for more because you can, as you mentioned, offer something else. You can connect the dots, not just summarize and write.
What are some other strategies you use to reach out? It can be on any platform, and I know you said you try to attract clients to you, but what are the pre-steps to that? Are you
Yeah.
connecting with certain people? Are you doing a lot of research?
Okay. So every day, by the way, for 30 minutes, that's like has been my routine for the last 3 or 4 years. Every day for 30 minutes, I keep applying to every single job that I find relevant. For example, first of all, I search LinkedIn jobs. That's one thing. All the remote positions for LinkedIn. Sometimes it's not remote, by the way. I search for hybrid, for example, positions. Then I reach out saying, I work remotely, but I can offer something really good in terms of what you're asking for. Would you consider hiring a remote worker? I've never been like, let's not apply because it doesn't fit. If it's 60, 70% a good fit, apply for it. If they're asking for a native speaker, but you're really good in what they were asking for, apply for it. Just go for those jobs. I use Indeed, and Indeed is mostly for American, let's say, positions or American job offerings. Still, I find a lot of good offers on Indeed, and I keep applying every single day. Many of them might not check the application, but others will consider it because if I'm offering something they're looking for, and if I'm offering a good deal, then why not?
Yeah, and I suppose if your CV is on file, maybe in the future that leads to something. It's all about like building that network, right? Because if
Yep.
one person says, "Oh yeah, I remember some, guy who's based in Armenia. Oh, let's get back in touch with him, or let's recommend him to someone else."
Exactly.
Stranger things have
Exactly. And it
happened.
happened, by the way. People just get back to you, probably not for that same project, but for another project they have. Sometimes, for example, maybe someone who works at the company wants to start something on their own. They will reach out to you because it would save them, for example, a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
And I go, for example, to Facebook groups, expat groups in different countries around the world. And I find many international people asking for content writers. I go for job portals in different countries. Like in Armenia, there are some, let's say, popular job portals. In different countries, there are the same. In Romania, Albania, just think of a country, look for the job portals there. If they are established enough to have remote positions, apply to them.
Yeah, there's no one, silver bullet strategy to nail everything. For me, and I should put my cards on the table saying I'm not a freelance writer. I don't earn most of my money through reaching out and writing articles freelance. I am a coach. But, it's about networking, isn't it? And where I live, there is a forum full of international travelers, digital nomads with 10,000 people in it, highly skilled professionals, people who maybe are here 1 month, not here another month, but they are developers, they are coaches, they are highly skilled people, and they often need services. They're willing to buy them. So just make yourself known and say that you're a writer, and someone will say, "Oh, hey, I know a guy. Do you want to write this article? Do you
Yep.
want to, team up with this startup?" I mean, there's so many ways to network and get this out there. Like that tip about Facebook groups, so I think that's a very good starting point to just hang
Yes.
out there. And you don't need to expect lots of job offers instantly, but you know, apply and make yourself known, and just comment on stuff and see where it gets you.
And by the way, I want to mention something that don't try to overcomplicate stuff. Like 2 years ago, I started a campaign on Facebook and Instagram. I asked a freelance designer to design something. It was just a photo of an astronaut holding a coffee cup. That's it. And I mentioned something saying you like whether you have a space agency or a small coffee shop, you need a content writer to promote it. That was it. Simple Facebook promotion, $10 a week only. And I got so many clients from that campaign because the text was right on spot. The photo was a very professional one. It didn't cost me much. I got too much from that. And it wasn't some complicated settings on Facebook and campaigns and PPC. It was something really easy, really simple, very classic. And sometimes when you check all those settings, you're like, I'm trying to avoid this because it's too complicated. Okay, then do it the simple way. Don't complicate stuff for yourself.
And who did you target in that campaign? Was that like a highly targeted niche? Did it sort
Actually,
of tick all
no,
of your settings, or it was
I
just a
just
more
filtered, for
general thing?
example, like it allows filtering genders and ages. and I didn't do any other things. Like I just filtered the right age that I'm looking for, specific cities, and that's it.
There are probably Facebook ad specialists tearing their hair out, going like, "No,
Of
he
course,
didn't need to use my services." But
I'm
yeah,
not saying, by the
sometimes
way, that's not a
something that's
profession.
great content works.
That's what I mean. Sometimes the simple way works. I'm not saying that Facebook ad specialists are doing nothing useful. Of course, not. That's what I'm not what I'm trying to say. But
Yeah, sure.
sometimes the simple way works. When you target a small place, when you target a small market, when you know who you're targeting, it works.
Let's move on now, and keep your questions coming in. I see a few more questions rolling in. We will get to those at the end. Yeah, let's move on now to how you build trust. So when you do
Okay.
reach out, apply for jobs, or message people, what kind of ways are you developing that relationship into the point where you can make a pitch, or they're going to be more receptive to what you have to offer?
Okay. So there is something I notice whenever I'm meeting new content writers. They don't spend almost any time working on their portfolios. For them, building the portfolio is like, I'm just going to do it overnight, or I'm going to do it this weekend. Building a portfolio doesn't work that way. You have to spend months and sometimes even a year building your own portfolio. So you know that whenever you're pitching a client, you're getting that job right away. I know someone, by the way, he was not from the tech industry at all, but he wanted to become a technical writer. So he gave me an advice and he said, write a book about something that you want to become a expert in. And he spent a year studying and researching a specific technical topic, published two books about that topic, and those two books were selected later by an American publisher, and they published them like on different platforms including Amazon. So now he has two books published by they have his name on them, and he has the credibility. All he has to do is just to apply. And whenever the client sees them, like, I'm applying for this job, I have those two books. And he's not a native speaker, by the way. And he gets so many good, but I'm not saying he's not a native speaker as I'm trying to, again, underestimate anyone, not at all. But I'm saying being not a native speaker is not a disadvantage. So back to building a portfolio, you have to spend enough time thinking about what am I going to write about? What is my portfolio going to look like? What am I going to have in my portfolio? Is it, for example, social media posts? Is it some blog articles? 2 years ago, I wanted to start reaching out to clients interested in SEO writing myself. And I thought, should I say that I can write according to all SEO guidelines? Because I already know them. Then I thought, no, let's show instead of telling. And I ended up writing one article. And for that specific article, I interviewed 100 people. It took me 3 months to finish that article about opening back offices in Armenia. Now, that article ranks number one in Google search results after 3 months. So, 6 months total, I have an article that ranks number one in its respective category. As a result, whenever like reaching out to any clients, I have something to back my words saying, I know how to rank on top of search results. Here is my article. You can refer to that. Building a portfolio is not something you do over the weekend. Take enough time, take months to build something that's really good, that will impress the client. Then you can build credibility. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's maybe three areas. I mean, if I'm looking to hire a writer with my sort of client's hat on, there'd be three things that I'm looking for in a portfolio. One is quality of content. So when you say you spent 3 months writing it and you've got all of these different, opinions, and it's just such a deep, well researched article, and the writing sparkles. That's one thing that I'm looking for. So that's something that writers can do themselves, right? Is guaranteed just something top quality as an article. The other ones are maybe authority publications. So a lot of writers will even write for free, or will look for opportunities to get published in known magazines like Wired or Forbes or something, because that's something which looks great in a portfolio, right? And the third thing is results. Like you mentioned, if you can show this article gets results because it ranks top of Google, this article gets results because it's got 400 comments, because it's been shared, because it got featured by the Huff Post or something. Well, that's something you can share with clients, or they can see. So Yeah, and like Matthew says, it's not something you can build overnight. You can't guarantee all of those things. So just
Yep.
keep working on that portfolio. And if you've got a great piece, add that in. Yeah, I mean, how many pieces would you suggest for a portfolio? How do you lay it out? How do you display it?
I would say 10 pieces. You must have, like, let's say, a minimum of 10 pieces, either about a specific topic that you're interested in, or about, let's say, a few topics, general topics that you can write about, but you can, like, write about really well. But I would say you must have 10 pieces before applying, 10 well researched, well written pieces. You can
Yeah,
either
but
have your own domain name, you can use any of those platforms, you can use LinkedIn. The platform doesn't matter, because a good client, let's say a professional client, they will tell, like, regardless of what platform you're using, based on the quality of the work that you're offering.
yeah, I mean, I would be more interested in looking at things which are a bit different in form. So, say you're a copywriter, you can put together like chains of emails or something like that, and deeper, more quality articles rather than listicles and how tos, because we've all seen them everywhere. And if somebody's just taking a quick glance at your portfolio and they see, 3 cool reasons to do this. I've got a
Exactly.
screenshot on my phone actually. I'm going to just bring this up because I think yesterday I
Top
saw.
3 reasons to deal with crypto in 2024. Who's going to be impressed with that? Come on. Be more
I,
specific. Analyze a market, analyze something.
I have to bring this one up because I saw. I might do some analysis on this because it's just the most horrible clickbaity headline that I've seen in a while. Sorry, not sorry to the writer. It is 19 cheeky hacks to triple the impact of your writing. Brackets. These really work.
Oh,
There's so many
then it
things about
works,
that
because
I'm like,
is this really work?
if I saw that in a portfolio, I'm not thinking, hey, there's an expert writer. I'm
Exactly.
thinking, this person just wants a quick bit of interaction, and that's not the kind of thing to include.
And no wonder many people think content writing isn't an established job, because they don't spend enough time building their own portfolio. They try to do it the easy way, like, I'm starting tomorrow, like a couple of hours every day, that's it. It doesn't work this way. When you focus on it, it becomes a job, a high paying job. Otherwise, it's not. It's a waste of time.
Great point. We've got a few more questions lined up. So we've talked about portfolio, sort of building trust. Well, let's touch base on that again. Are there any other ways that you develop a relationship with clients? Maybe getting repeat
Okay.
business, or I know we were talking before about you meeting people in person as well.
Exactly.
Do you want
So
to talk a
first
bit
of
more
all,
about that?
if there is a chance to meet people in person, I wouldn't miss it. I would meet people in person. However, for many, it could be only an online opportunity, but why not? Like, if there is a chance to meet the client, I would do it. Another trick that sometimes I use, by the way, so as I told you, every day I look for some potential leads online. And if I find something, a client, a potential lead, and I know that I can offer them something good, I would start screen recording their website. While I'm screen recording, I would talk about what I can offer. Then I would share something that I have written specifically for them. And I would send that to them. Then I will, like, reach out to them also on LinkedIn saying, I have shared something for you. I personalize messages. I've never used those, like, massive email campaigns to email like 10,000 clients. No, one good client, I spent 45 minutes working on that specific, let's say, pitch, is better than sending 10,000 emails to people who might not just open them in the spam box. So when I screen record, they want to see, like, what am I talking about? It's their own website. That's one trick. It's really simple. It's one time, by the way, someone got me into an interview by just holding a board, a whiteboard that had my name and saying welcome or something. And he had that board in, like, at the thumbnail for the video. And when I played the video, he was like, "Hi, Mathew Zein. I'm interested in collaborating on something." And he got me interested because it had my name. It's a personalized message. How comes I'm not going to open that? And the same thing works for every possible client.
Yeah. Hi, Boniface. Welcome. Am I saying that right? Boniface? Boniface? Uh, yeah, great to have you here. Grab that cup of coffee. Keep listening. and ask any questions you have. Anyone out there, we've got a couple to get to. So,
So I would say use every, I mean, make it a habit to apply to content writing gigs or content writing, let's say jobs. Make it your own habit every day. It doesn't take that time. Every day, 30 minutes, for example. Use all different job portals, use social media platforms, look for jobs, look for websites yourself. If you find something that, don't look for a website that's already good and try to oversell something. It doesn't work. But when you see something where you can make a difference, the client will tell that you can make a difference. Clients are not stupid, by the way. Clients are smart. And you have to know that you're dealing with smart professionals. Offer them something good. They will see the benefit, they will contact you.
and how do you track submissions and pitches and sort of figure out the metrics of what is working? Is that something that you do?
Actually, I wouldn't say I've done that before, no, because as long as I'm receiving offers, it means it works. Sometimes I find that, okay, I'm getting more LinkedIn replies, then I'm focusing on LinkedIn. Other times I'm getting from somewhere else. Like this year, by the way, I decided that I want to start using TikTok. I want to find out, can I get some clients from TikTok or not? And I'm now starting to learn. So there are always new platforms to test. Give it a try. There is nothing you can lose.
Yeah, my advice on that front, as someone who also operates on a lot of different social media, and it's very easy to get distracted and to machine gun rather than sniper rifle. Maybe that's not the kindest metaphor to use, but we want to be targeted, right, and ensure success. Is experiment, like Matthew says, but also
Yeah.
have a core
Because
something that you
every
do.
industry has
Like
its own
he's
channels. Like fashion,
yeah
for example, you might find them on Instagram. Just like, for example, blockchain, you might find them on LinkedIn. Every industry has channels, so you have to test all of them.
Yeah, and once you've figured out what's working, have that core period of time, whether it's half an hour, that you spend on developing that rather than continuing to test every platform
Of
out
course.
there of just, oh, I'm going to repost this blog on, every single
If
place I can
something
hit
doesn't work,
publish.
drop it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, interesting as well with short form video stuff. Is that what you're doing on TikTok? Is
Oh
it
no,
more
TikTok
text
is.
based
I
or is
still
it
haven't
just
started using TikTok, but I'm going to start using it. But like those short videos, I was telling, like whenever I find a client that I'm interested in, for example, communicating with, I do a short video, and the short video would have my face like at the bottom, so they see there's someone they're talking to. It's their website, some words on the screen. It kind of engages the client into thinking, I know what that guy has to offer. Right? Probably we should get in touch. Let's talk to that guy. Something like that. Make it a
it's great.
personalized message all the
Great
time.
point about building trust, isn't it? Because we trust faces and videos, and that's why it's such a huge thing using video. And you're also proving that not only are you a real person who's personalizing this message, but you're sort of proving your
Yep.
language level as well, aren't you? If you can record a natural video talking about a complex
Yep.
topic using the
Confidence in
right
what
kind
you're
of
talking
language, they're going to trust you to write
about. Yeah.
something rather than thinking, who is this?
Like how many times do you receive those emails saying I got like 1,000 guest posts, something like that?
Yeah.
You receive them all the time. They're all the same. But when someone reaches out differently, you notice that. It's all about personalization. Personalize your message in
It's
any
getting to the
possible mean.
I think it's getting to the point where I'm almost offended when I get these spammy emails that are like, "Oh, I've seen your YouTube channel and the content is great." You haven't
Yep.
looked at it. You don't know what's on the YouTube channel.
Exactly.
You've just
Exactly.
grabbed my email address and fired out 10,000.
And you've
Like
sent it
that's
to
not going to work
10,000
from
people.
anyone. Yeah. Um, Great. Thanks for your questions. We've got a couple more coming in, so we will get to those in a few minutes. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about AI.
Hmm.
How do you use it, and how do you position yourself as a freelancer in 2024,
Okay.
bearing in
So,
mind all that's happened?
by the way, I would say, is the better thing, the best thing that ever happened to me. I tripled my income because of AI. Although, I mean, I started selling myself as a human being to my clients instead of selling myself as an AI writer. And I emailed my client saying, Now there is AI, you're asking me to reduce my prices. I still spend the same amount of time and effort writing the article or writing the content for you using AI, and you're getting a better copy than before, which means I'm not down like reducing my prices, I'm asking for more. If you want AI to write for you, AI is there. Let me train someone to do it on your team. If you want a human being to write for you, that's different. Because I embrace being a human being in this case. And just to bring a couple of examples, by the way, on how to focus on the things AI falls short. If you're writing an article about a local car wash business in a third world country, try to ask AI about that article. AI will say to open a car wash business, a local one in this country, you must have a license, a name, a branding, marketing campaign. It's a car wash business. There's no need for all of that jargon. But when you talk to people, to someone who owns a car wash business, there are 100 secrets, tips, and tricks they can tell you. And once you integrate all those into one article, that's one insightful article. And you might ask, then who needs an article about car wash businesses? Actually, for example, mobile applications interested in payments. That's one client. They want as many local businesses to use their mobile applications. So either you have that article that says you have to have a license, a brand name for your car wash business, da da da. That's what AI would provide. Right now, you can ask it, that's the answer. Or reach out to people, communicate with people. That's something AI cannot do. And
So
that's
what you're
one,
saying, just to jump in and summarize a little bit, what I'm understanding is like niching down and really getting to know complex topics from people is important, and also getting stuff into your articles that is not already online, because all of these
exactly,
how-tos and all this branding and marketing stuff, that's already online. We need to go
exactly.
deeper.
Exactly, because AI will give you those top 10 things everyone wants to know. But when you ask the experts, they're laughing like, what is that? No one cares about that.
Yeah.
So once you ask your LinkedIn network, ask your Facebook network, ask people, talk to people, communicate, bring some insights, bring something that's not already there, connect the dots. Have you seen those examples, by the way, where AI cannot solve some logic riddles just because it needs some logic? Meanwhile, as a human being, you can solve those because you have the logic, which means you can connect the dots. And if I'm writing, for example, an article about crypto, for example, I can connect the dots to understand the past, the present, the future in a way that AI cannot do, because AI will just generate that thing in a way that's different than how I can do it. If I'm an expert in that field, of course, and that's what I mean. Do the stuff that AI cannot do and make it really good. And again, your client will notice the difference. Even Google, by the way, will notice the difference.
Yeah, we're singing from the same song sheet here, because everyone last year was talking about what AI can do. And I was sitting there just going, no, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Let's focus on what it cannot do. That is where the value
Exactly.
is. It's simple. It's simple. Look at what it cannot do and provide that. And there were all people saying, oh, it will get better and we will do this. But it won't be able to
Become a human.
become, yeah, a human, or to write articles like you are, Matthew. So that's where we're looking at focusing, I think.
And
What
again,
are
it's
some?
not
Yeah.
reducing the time or the effort, by the way. Like some clients would say, now you're spending less time writing. No, I'm not. I'm spending the same amount of time. But I'm offering a better copy because I'm using AI to help me, for example, let's say sometimes make it more funny, make it more formal. AI is definitely helping me. But I'm still doing my own homework. If I'm not doing it, then as you mentioned in your post the other day, AI will replace me right away.
And what are some other ways you use it? So sometimes to tweak or suggest things in a different tone of voice, you're saying?
Exactly. Yes. Sometimes I ask AI, for example, to make something like, when I'm writing something, for example, for a client in Australia, I would ask the client, I ask AI, does this resonate with Australian readers? How would the British reader find this? Is this native enough? How good my copy is? So ask AI, try to get some information from AI to evaluate what I'm doing instead of asking AI to write something and I'm just reading it and sending it to my client. No, I do the writing, AI refines it with me, then I keep improving it.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting there is again, it's what goes into the machine. It's like you understanding where the audience is and what kind of things. they are going to expect from an article, and using AI to help you add those rather than just saying, creating a prompt or something which is not going to resonate and not going to be that helpful.
Exactly. For example, when your client is, let's say, for example, writing is an American company and they're offering their services in Eastern Europe. So you have to research what your client is offering. What is the target market in Eastern Europe? What kind of, let's say, content they are expecting to see? Then you can write something. This is what I mean by connecting the dots. This is something you can do as a human. When you understand everything that your client needs, and again, you reach out to people and you get some experience from people. And there are content writers all over, like all around the world. You can reach out to any content writer and ask them for some, like for something, for some experience, to share some knowledge. They will do, and later you will help them the same way.
Yeah, I mean, AI understands the internet and what is popular, what's been most used and recommended and viewed and cited. It doesn't understand humans. That's where we step in.
Yep.
This session is called Building Your Freelance Writing Empire. So let's just expand this view a little bit and talk about, once you're getting clients, once you've got some jobs to apply to and some work rolling in, what are the next steps to build an empire, to get your business
Okay.
really working for
So
you?
if you're starting, let's say, your content writing career, let's say the first thing is you decided on what to specialize in. That's first step. Second, you decided on what kind of portfolio you will have and you built that portfolio and you spent enough time doing that. Then you started reaching out to clients. Now, in that case, when you start reaching out to clients, when you start applying, you're getting jobs, you're getting money. Then you have to start building your own network. You have to start, for example, using more social media platforms. Getting reviews from clients, by the way, is one thing. Ask your client to review your work. Use, for example, marketplaces. Collect the reviews also on marketplaces like Upwork and like Fiverr, if you're using those like platforms. So once you become a business, once you're trying to build it as a business, you have to care about your client base. You have to care about, okay, then this is my pricing. I'm not giving different prices to different people. This is my pricing because it's good for me. It compensates for the effort I'm putting into this work. And this is, for example, the amount of work that I can get. Because one of the mistakes I've done before when I started was accepting more than I can handle. And I ended up receiving negative feedback from clients because I wasn't doing a good job. So it's a business. You have to treat it as a business at some stage. This is what I can do. This is like what I can offer. Those are my prices. This is my website. When you think that you are established enough to have a website, start your own website, list your services, have your prices there, a couple of photos to show that you are a human being, the reviews there, the portfolio, then you are a business moving forward. And again, it adds to your credibility.
I think it goes back to what you were talking about at the beginning of, being a non-native speaker, and many writers lack the confidence to sell quality, not quantity, because they've been used to doing quantity. But now AI can do quantity, so
Exactly.
you're out of luck if you're trying that. Like, go for quality. And a point I'd like to pick up on with clients is guide clients on how to review you. A lot of busy clients will just be like, oh yes, Matthew's a great writer, thanks Matthew. And it's like, it does that review, does that testimonial really show what you can do? No. Like, get clients to, like, guide them how to expand on the results that you brought, and say, Matthew wrote us an article which ranked
This or
top on
that.
Google, which brought 50 leads, and is incredibly valuable. So that's what will resonate. Businesses want results, so try and get
Yep.
comments and testimonials on that. Brilliant. Let's move on to a couple of questions. If you have any more
Okay.
questions, now is the time to get them in.
Will you
And
bring the questions to the screen?
yeah, I'll just
Okay.
add them to the screen. Let's see if we've got any interesting ones here. Okay, we talked about LinkedIn marketing and a few other platforms. What about Pilar? Hi, Pilar. She wants you to give an example of the kind of jobs that you might apply to.
Yep. Actually, I apply to content writing more than copywriting. I don't find myself a creative copywriter. However, I apply to more like content writing where I can research stuff, where I mean, some people can bring more value in copywriting. In my case, it's content writing. Lately, journalistic content writing where I can interview people, where I can get some quotes and statements from different people. And like usually I just search for writer or content writer, and I start filtering all the, let's say, like job offers that I can find, so I can select the ones where I'm a good fit, or let's say again, as I mentioned, 60% a good fit.
What are maybe some red flags that you may want to avoid? I mean, I see many LinkedIn writer job posts which have red flags all over them, but
Yeah, I
what do
mean,
you think?
the ones that sound sometimes like too good to be true, like $100,000 a year for a content writer, it doesn't make sense. I mean, sometimes it just doesn't look like legitimate, the whole ad. And sometimes where they're trying to ask you to do stuff you're not supposed to do as a writer. For example, they want someone to do the marketing, the SEO, and the writing. And that's not the job of a writer. And even if you can do a couple of those, don't accept that offer, because you will end up being asked about the results and you cannot provide those results. You're not a
And
marketing expert, for example. Be a
and what's your
content
view
writer.
on providing samples? Is that something that you would do, writing
Yes,
a sample
I do.
article,
Exactly.
or
I
just
do it all the time.
providing links to your work? Okay.
If they're asking for something, for example, like specifically to like their industry or their business, I will provide something. Even if they're going, for example, to, let's say, scam me and not get back to me, at least I tried. That's how I see it. It's an opportunity. It might work. So it could take me, for example, let's say an hour. I'm not writing a full article. I'm writing a few lines. But if it's going to get me an opportunity, then why not? I will do it. For me,
Yeah, I think
I will
I
do it.
think if you can research the background of that company and look
Of
into
course.
to make sure that it's not just hey, can you write for
At
free for us? Because
gmail.com.
yeah, there are a few of those, and also job ads which don't really have any details. They're just like
Of
full
course.
of writers from you know South Asia or Africa replying saying, "Oh yes, I'm interested," and they just want to harvest your details. They just want to get all these people on file rather than actually
Yep.
offer them something. So I think look out for those. Go for like higher authority jobs and put the time into it. Great. Okay, let's have another couple of comments and questions. Boniface said yes. Thanks for that comment. We had a question also from Yasmin. Hi, Yasmin. Let's answer this one. This is mostly about freelance writing, right? But what about
So
employment versus freelancing?
it depends, by the way, on what kind of offer you're getting. If a company offered you a content writing job and that's really good and you're satisfied with the payment, then why not? It depends on what you want. Sometimes some people don't like being a freelancer, applying to as many jobs as possible or keep like looking for the next client. Some people prefer to work with a company, and it's the same. If you're offering the same quality, that company will be interested in you. You're not just another content writer to them, you are the content writer to them. And then you can even negotiate the prices later in the future better with them.
Yeah, I don't see employment just as a safety net. Some people think, oh, if you want to be safe, get a job. And it's difficult to apply for jobs because there's so much competition. And if you want to, really build an empire, then you can go freelance. I see it as more like, what do you want to focus on? What skills do you want to build? Because being a freelancer, you need a huge amount of these marketing and research skills and all the kind of things that we've talked about today. That's maybe better for multi-faceted and multi-talented writers. If you're great at building relationships, being part of a team, and doing maybe more of a variety of tasks. I know you said, writers shouldn't be doing the marketing, but maybe in a team, if it's a small team, something like a startup hires a
Yep.
writer, you may be performing a few other tasks. So for me, it's like, which one do you want to focus on? I'd also suggest there are a lot of sneaky ways to apply for jobs rather than looking at job ads and replying, because there's going to be hundreds or thousands of writers doing that. So, like, reach out to people and try to network to get opportunities. If people say, just somebody messaged me yesterday saying he was looking for a copywriter interested in moving to the Netherlands or working in the Netherlands. Like that's the way 80% of jobs are given out, is through networking. It's not through posting job ads and filtering through thousands of applications. Both are useful, but yeah, in terms of this question, what do you want to focus on?
In
I
my
guess
case,
focusing on one
I'm
good.
freelancer.
Yeah, me too.
And by the way,
Right.
after enough time
Yeah.
of freelancing, you start having those like it's not a written contract, but you have those contracts with like let's say long-term clients. So right now, for example, I work with 5 different companies. I write for them. Although I am a freelancer, I have those clients. I'm working with them. I've been working for them for years, and they become kind of like you're an employer and an employee and not an employee at the same time. You already understand the culture, you know everyone there, and you're working with them. You're still attracting, let's say, a couple of new clients every time you get a chance to, but you have those with you. So when you spend enough time freelancing, there will come a point where someone will, let's say, offer you let's call it not a part-time because you're not working in specific hours, but you will have those contracts with people, long-term ones.
Yeah, I think that is incredibly valuable and something you need to develop as a freelancer. You need to, I do know a few writers who are maybe a bit too comfortable with like just having one client who gives them all the work and they sort of sit back and think, all right, this is me. You're not employed. You need to play both sides and figure out,
Yep.
what would happen if that employer, if that client didn't need me anymore. So keep your eyes open. Final question, I think, from Pilar. She wanted you to expand a little bit on your use of AI. What are you using, and what do you
Okay.
ask it to do
So I
exactly?
use both of them, by the way, ChatGPT and Bart. And how I do it, for example, I might write something like the way that I will think of it. But every country they have their own way of understanding, let's say, different topics. So I will ask AI to make it more Australian or to make it more appealing to an Australian audience. And I will try different prompts. I'm not a prompt expert. I will just try, let's say, communicating with AI in every possible way until I get something that I find, okay, now this sounds good. This is what might my client be interested in. Sometimes there are some, let's say, examples, some codes, something that only a native Australian will know. And if you're writing for an Australian client, I would like to impress them, showing them that I know it already. And this is where I use AI to help me for, okay, this is a copy that I've made. Can you make it more Australian? Can you add some, let's say, Australian codes inside? Can you show me how to make it Australian? And you don't have to take what AI sends like as is, but it helps to find, okay, maybe there is something I can change here, maybe there is something I can change there. Like, for example, if you're writing for a Canadian client, just like an example. So they know hockey. I don't know hockey. They play hockey. It's a very popular sport there. For me, it's not. How can I write about that? AI helps me to connect those small dots to understand, okay, for this nation, those are a couple of things I can add to my article to make it more native, more appealing to them.
Yeah, and even on a language front, the kinds of idioms and expressions which
Exactly.
resonate, they don't have to be, cliches or like full of hockey idioms. But if one can really make people enjoy
Yeah, just
reading
to
along more
raise
than
the
just
interest
quickly
of a topic.
scanning it. Yeah, great. Thanks for that question, Pilar, and thanks everyone for coming. I think that's it for the questions. If you have any other questions, or if you're watching this on replay, just drop your question in the comments, and I will keep checking them and get back to you. Feel free to reach out to myself. I'm everywhere apart from TikTok, but look for English Writing Coach. Matthew, where can people reach you? And
LinkedIn, I would say.
okay, great. So feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn. Thanks very much for coming along. And Matthew, I think you completely delivered so many actionable, awesome tips about making life as a freelance writer work. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing all your knowledge with us.
You're welcome. And by the way, on your post, I will just comment like later today all the list of those topics we've talked about. If that's something that you're okay with, I will list those points that we have talked about, like the workable tips that anyone can just follow.
Go for it. We should have used the Zoom AI summary or something that could have taken
Oh, we can do
detailed
it
notes for us.
ourselves.
or we can
Okay.
just do it by remembering. All right, Matthew, I'll let you get back to your important meetings and stuff. Thanks very much for
You're
sharing your time
welcome.
with
Thank you.
us, and peace out, everybody. See you next time.
Okay. Thank you, Phil. Bye bye. Bye bye, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Bye bye.